Welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update, hosted by the York Group of Downing Fry Realty. Our show will bring you the most up-to-date information on the local real estate market, presented by leading experts in the field.
Welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update. I'm Morgan York with the York Group of Downing Fry, and today we're joined by our host Jim York and his guest Crystal Kinzel, Collier County Clerk of the Circuit Court.
Thank you, Morgan, for the introduction. Well, Crystal, welcome back, 2021, after a year off, right?
Well, not a year off for
Not
us.
for you, but for us doing the taping the show and everything.
Exactly.
So for the viewers that haven't seen the show before, why don't you just give us a little background about yourself and what your job is, more importantly.
Thanks, Jim, and it is good to be back in person. We've done a lot of Zoom and meetings, but I much prefer the in-person, so I appreciate that. The Clerks of Courts has a variety of roles, over 1,000 by state statute, but three primary. We are the clerk to the courts. We take care of all the courts records, take collection of all the fines, fees. We process documents and paperwork, including domestic violence injunctions, and we keep track of all of the records for the court and evidence that has been submitted to court. The secondary role we have is recording, which we'll talk a little bit about later, and it's booming, so we'll get into that, having to do with all of the official records of Collier County. And we've been doing that since 1923, and we actually have records back that far that we have to maintain and make available. And our third role is as comptroller for Collier County. So the county's budget, we'll be doing some budget workshops later. Right now it's about $2 billion in a countywide budget, and we take care of all of the accounting for those functions of the Board of County Commissioners. So those three primary roles.
And you are elected official, right?
Oh, well, I guess I should say that right. I'm an elected official. I'm elected county-wide, so I represent all of the districts and areas in Collier County. And as a representative, one of the roles under comptroller that I probably should mention is the audit role. And we are the watchdog for the county.
Exactly.
So we have an inspector general office that we will be accredited hopefully by the end of this year, first part of next year, as an inspector general office. And we try to watch the taxpayers' money.
Well, Crystal, let's get to the subject here today, okay? But
Sure.
Let's talk about the growth of how many recordings you're having and how you've really gotten everything together so people can do this.
Well, thank you. We are booming.
Right.
And I think I mentioned that to you before we got on camera. We're setting records. Historically, we did maybe $1 million in doc stamps a week. Mm-hmm. We're doing 5 million. The first week of May, we actually did 6 million in doc stamps and recording. We're on a pace to increase our deeds and recorded documents by about 35%. In 21 versus 20. Now 20 obviously was down because of the pandemic, but our office was open. And so we continued to e-record documents and process the work. I was very fortunate. Statewide, several clerks had to furlough people, lay people off. We kept working because of the automation, so I'm pretty proud of that. And I think our employees were able to then get a paycheck, stay working, obviously under the precautions that we had to follow. But we're designated, the clerk's office is an essential service because we support the court systems.
Okay.
And so by the authority of the governor, we operate as an essential service.
In these recordings, you have to file everything when you do a real estate transaction. You're seeing new construction or refinancing. What we talked about off camera, the percentages of that.
Yeah, it's about 70% on new deeds recorded, and then the other 30% for the mortgages, which would indicate refinancings or transfers of mortgage or some other thing with an existing mortgage.
And the size of these, we were talking about the size of them?
Yeah, interestingly, the people in recording, they try to keep what's the top, recorded amount. This year, we've already had two single-family residents that stick out, $52 million single-family and a $59 million single-family. So we always, when we see those, it's like, wow, Collier's still booming and doing well, obviously.
Oh my God. In the budget, I have the budget here for next year. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the clerk's office, we are funded primarily from three sources, similar to what I described as our functions. The court side of the house is funded by the state. The board side of the equation is funded by the Board of County Commissioners for the transactions and duties we do for them. That's what you have in your hands. That is due to be filed May 1, so it's been filed. It's on our website. We're at about $8.6 million in a transfer from the Board of County Commissioners to do everything that we do on their behalf. The other part of the budget funded by the courts won't be determined till the end of summer. And then we generate a lot of revenue from recording. Not as much as we would like. We do about $250 million in transactions within recording, but our fees equate to about 0.5%,
Okay.
0.5%.
Wow.
Of all of those fees. So, but it does keep the recording paid for, and it supplements what we do for the Board of County Commissioners so that the taxpayers don't foot the whole burden from the board and ad valorem or general fund revenues.
And there's going to be like a hearing, right, in June for this?
A budget
for the
workshop.
Public budget workshop?
And I really encourage the public to know what's going on in Collier County. The workshops will start June 24th. That's a Thursday.
Right.
Each department of county government presents to the Board of County Commissioners why they're asking for what they're asking for as part of the budget. The Board of Commissioners can ask questions. Now, the public does not participate because it is a workshop, but it would, even if you watch it, it is televised on Channel 97.
Okay.
And they'll understand a lot of the complexities of the departments that they're funding. The constitutional officers are often scheduled for the second day, the 25th, so that would be, but I will say in the past few years, they've sped along the process, and it usually gets finalized for all of the participants on the 24th. And I think this year they actually scheduled us for the afternoon of the 24th with wrap-up on the 25th. So 24th is a big day.
This budget is finally approved by the state, the final one? Or
No.
How's that work?
The Board of County Commissioners will hold two hearings in September.
Okay.
On the 2nd and 3rd, 2 weeks apart in September. Most commonly the 2nd and 4th Thursdays. But that's the hearing for the public to come in on all of the countywide budget. They will make a determination at the first hearing, then that'll be published to their determination, but then they have to hold the second hearing, and it will not be finalized till the end of September for the board's portion. The state is actually, what the clerks earn, we have to turn over to the state for the court processes.
Right, that's right.
And they reallocate that through a process of it's the Clerk of Courts Corporation, defined by the legislature, and we have to present our budget to them for the court side of the processes. The recording side, I approve the budget for the recording,
Okay.
and then the consolidation of all three of those will present another budget book, and it has been award-winning for several years. We file that budget book with the Government Finance Officers Association, and we've been successful.
And tell us a little bit about how you're helping some of the people with the stimulus package money that's been coming towards the county.
Right. The board, we've been lucky, obviously, as some of the pass-through funding. The first amount of money that was provided by the federal government was about $74 million to Collier County. That went out in all sorts of protection equipment, funding for everything from hand sanitizer to masks. Then we went into some other programs, rental assistance, utility bill assistance for people that were unemployed and were put out of work. So all of that funding comes from the federal to the state down to the counties as an allocation. The county in their housing department processes all of the requests, and then we audit those requests and actually pay the bills. So that first $74 million was distributed. We have a little bit of money left over from that just because of the mechanics, and then we have also received, I believe it's another $24 million, but we're scheduled to perhaps get over $200 million anywhere from now to the next 4 years.
And finally, let's just talk about foreclosures, if what the trends have been for that, and are they on hold, or even tax deeds, because you handle that also.
Right, we handle the tax deed sales and the foreclosure sales. During the COVID circumstances last year, foreclosures were stayed. Originally just totally stayed. Then they came out with a clarification that it had to be a COVID impact stay. And then there were some other remaining CDC guidelines that if COVID was the cause of the eviction, even in a roundabout way, that had to be presented to the judge to be processed for foreclosure. But right now, there aren't any across-the-board restrictions on foreclosure processes. Fortunately, we have not seen that many here in Collier. I think with the boom in real estate, people are able to sell their property and not be forced to a foreclosure situation. Tax deed sales, the next tax deed sale will be June 7th, and it'll be held here at the courthouse annex in the atrium. And
was there a hold on those or not, or don't you know?
We had to put off some of the tax deed sales simply because of the restrictions on masking, proximity to individuals, but we did try to hold the tax deed sales as soon as we could, so those have been ongoing a little longer.
Just explain what tax deed sales are for our viewers that don't know, okay?
Well, and I will say I'm on the tax deed sales, first of all, caution every viewer, know what you're doing in the business.
Exactly.
It sounds like a great venture because tax deed sales do pay a considerable amount of interest. But tax deed sales differ from foreclosures in that foreclosures, you're actually getting the property. Right. The tax deed sale is merely you're holding a piece of paper with the eventuality of, is that going to go to a foreclosure? You earn pretty decent interest on that, but there is no guarantee of the funds, and it could be sold, and it's just an investment. So as with any other investment, it has certain risks. And so I always encourage people to understand what they're doing in both tax deeds and foreclosures. We have had people come in stunned that they had purchased property in a foreclosure that was landlocked. And how do I get there? That's why you have to do research, do your homework on what you're buying.
Yeah, you need an expert in that.
Yeah, really.
Well, Crystal, I appreciate you coming on the show today, and I look forward to doing some more shows with you, and hope our viewers enjoyed it, and we'll thank you for tuning in today, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thinking of buying or selling a home in Naples, Marco Island, Bonita, or Estero, Florida? Think of the most experienced York Real Estate Group, associated with the #1 brokerage in Southwest Florida, Downing Fry Realty, which produces yearly real estate transactions of over $1 billion. Jim, Michael, and Morgan make up the York Real Estate Group of Downing Fry Realty, with over $275 million in sales transactions, along with offering over 25 combined years' experience in the local market. The Yorks can offer the experience and trust you need in a realtor. Call them today at 239-273-6727 or visit their website at www.naplesyorkrealestate.com.